So we begin. Hello, everyone. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are joining us from tonight. Happy Losar or Happy New Year of the Ox. We just celebrated the Lunar New Year last week, and we are honored to have you join us for our first event of this new lunar year. I hope you, your loved ones, and everyone else are safe and well. My name is Sewang Wangchuk, and I'm the Executive Director of the Bhutan Foundation. Today, we have a special guest who will share with us his thoughts on how to maintain mindfulness during this global pandemic. And we will attempt to do that through a conversation with the Venerable Khedrupchen Rinpoche. Rinpoche is a Bhutanese Buddhist teacher and founder of the Khedrup Foundation, one of our partners in Bhutan. Among the many charitable and spiritual causes that the foundation supports, one of them is the restoration and revival of a very ancient 8th century monastery in central Bhutan near Tongsa. This ancient monastery is dedicated to Menmo Tashi Khidrin. Now, those of you familiar with Bhutan will surely know the story of one of the most spiritual, iconic landmarks of Bhutan, Taktsang or Tiger's Nest Monastery. You may remember the story of how Guru Rinpoche, as he descended upon Taktsang, he did so astride a flying tigress. And according to some accounts, the tigress was none other than the manifestation of the Dakini Menmo Tashi Khidrin. She was a daughter of central Bhutan, and she was also a spiritual consort of Guru Rinpoche. If you look at these photographs, the one on the right, you can see the dilapidated condition of the wall murals of the monastery, and then to the left you can see a slightly renovated, restored state that ancient monastery is in right now. And you will know that Bhutan is dotted, the countryside is dotted with many monasteries, many ancient structures, so such as the one that Rinpoche is helping revive. But they also are important cultures of spiritual centers and centers of spiritual and social well-being for a lot of youth within the community and from faraway villages who come and get an education and get somehow set on the path to Dharma through support from centers such as this. It's I think I mentioned briefly about how Menmo Tashi Khidrin and the tigress and the relevance of that, but look at this photograph. This was sent to me by Rinpoche not so long ago. This was from a nearby area up in the mountains when Rinpoche was just meditating and isolated in prayer and retreat, a fresh pug mark of a tiger. And sure enough, the area of where Rinpoche's monastery is near Tongsa is a very important tiger habitat. This is even to this day. In fact, sometimes there are too many tigers. Locals complain that their livestock are taken away by tigers. So there is this spiritual connection with what is still real and what is still visible to this day. And then also, towards the beginning of the pandemic, Rinpoche spent many days in the mountains of Bhutan, in its numerous sacred sites, isolated in prayer and meditation. And these are some of the images from Rinpoche's time up in the mountains. And I hope we can cover some of that in the course of our conversation. And as I said, we really hope to listen to what Rinpoche has to share with us in terms of being mindful, in terms of being able to cope with the challenging times that we are in right now. And now it is my special honor and privilege to welcome the Venerable Khedrupchen Rinpoche with us. Welcome, Rinpoche.
Thank you, Seong. And thank you so much for Bhutan Foundation for this wonderful platform and for bringing this opportunity to me to share the the experiences about the mindfulness. And I would like to wish everyone happy Losar. So I wish you with lots of blessings on this year. And I wish everyone a very long and healthy life in this very special year. And I think as we are beginning about to talk about the mindfulness, I think it's very important to remind about what is mindfulness about. And I'm sure that many of you are aware about what is mindfulness, because everyone is familiar about meditation. So since we are talking about the mindfulness today, so let me introduce a little bit about mindfulness. Mindfulness is a key of our meditations, and in order to complete one work completely, I think the mindfulness is very important. So so that I think I hope that today's session will help everyone that will join the sessions to remind about the mindfulness. Yeah. So thank you, Theon.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So going back to to what everybody is going through right now, this past 12 months have been very challenging for many people around the world, with unprecedented deaths, hospitalization, unemployment, the loss of livelihoods, and so forth. In addition, there is still limited social interaction because of repeated lockdowns in some places, social distancing, and public health guidelines. Schools and workplaces have, largely gone virtual, so it is very difficult for many people without our usual in-person meetings and social interactions. Well, the good news is the vaccines are now slowly rolling out in several countries, and hopefully it won't be long before we can get back to some level of normalcy. So, Rinpoche, as I mentioned before, as the pandemic was raging across the world, you took the opportunity to seek refuge in remote mountain retreats in Bhutan, making the most of your time. Why was that important? And what do you do when you are in such a place like that?
Thank you, Theon, for this question. As a Buddhist, and as a monk, I should say that it is very important to do three important things in life. First is to study the Buddhist teachings, and second one is to reflect the teachings of us, and the third is to practice those whatever you have studied and whatever you have reflect, or whatever you have analyzed when you were studying. But then, since after I have taken responsibility after my graduation in 2015, I was responsible for gathering all the necessities for the monastery and to rebuild the monastery, and then to kind of how to say, I was responsible for the educations for the monastery for the monks, our monks here. So there was a very limited time. I think, in fact, I could also say there was no time for myself to, except morning and evening, and there was no full time for myself to do this, to the practices, basically. So I thought, since that this global pandemic, we are not allowed to travel, we are not allowed to have social interactions. So I thought it is very important to take an opportunity about this pandemic. So I decided to start the meditations, to meditate in the very holy and sacred places in the country, as that Padmasambhava said. It is just meditating at normal places for 100 days is equivalent to meditating in this kind of sacred places in the mountains for a day. So, just simply, I actually wanted to just go for meditations. And another reason is that I wanted to experience how does it feels like to be in the mountains after quite a long time, So, so I took a refuge in the mountains, and it was a wonderful experience. Actually, it's very magical, by the way, I would say. I think at the beginning, a few days, it was a little bit struggling for me because I have been kind of living in this comfort zones for many let's say, a few decades now. And after getting back to these things, it was a little bit difficult for me to adjust without lights, without car roads, without proper internet, without electricity. You know, it was a little difficult. But then day passed by, and then the week passed by. Things goes very smoothly. It was, like a very different experience. Your alarm becomes a bird chirping in the morning, like a very open space. And you don't need to open the curtains of the windows automatically when the sun rises. You're aware of everything else. It was a very beautiful moment. And sometimes, I keep shifting to different places. And sometimes you can see the legs, moving sounds, like then, and sometimes you get snow up in yourself. So it was a very, very unique experiences. I think indeed I would say that was the real normal, you know, that was a real normal, or maybe like, let's say, a real ecosystem that I have experienced. And even like eating of foods, but since that you're away from social interaction, and there are, I mean, like, you're away from people, so even your foods are very limited. So you have to kind of, how to say, really manage it to work it for maybe a month or a week, until you get through another village to, I mean, have some more foods. So even eating becomes very, how to say, discipline, So I would say that that was the best moment of my life. And I really got some times, very important times for me to implement those teachings, whatever I have learned from my teachers, and that I have never got times to implement to practice. So I think this pandemic was a golden gift for me. Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear that, and for Rinpoche to be able to take advantage, of the, not looking at this as a challenge, but also as an opportunity to do things that you wouldn't have otherwise taken the time to do. And as I mentioned earlier, where Rinpoche's monastery is located, it's also an important tiger habitat, and of course for a lot of us, there is a lot of interdependence and interconnectivity between all sentient beings. It's not just humans that should be at the center of the universe, but there is all these, the tigers. In fact, I was quite, impressed when Rinpoche saw those really fresh tracks, and I was just wondering what could be going through your mind when you saw those tiger tracks near where you were saying your prayers. What went through your mind? I mean, could Rinpoche share your experience?
Mm. Let me share. May I share my? I may share, like, a brief history about the Monmatashi Kirin. Monmatashi Kirin was one of the principal consorts. Among 5 consorts of Guru Rinpoche. There are 5 principal consorts of Guru Rinpoche, and that she was the only most Bhutanese consort among, among those 5 principal consorts of Padmasambhava. And as you mentioned earlier, she was the princess of our country, of one of the kings of Bumthang. And as many of you may have heard about the Tiger's Nest Monastery in Paro, Bhutan, and some of you who visit Bhutan might have been to that place. And we are talking about that Tiger's Nest tiger, who transformed into the tigress, the Tashi Kidin, when Guru Rinpoche manifested to Dorji Drola, the rightful form of one of the Guru Rinpoche's form. For me, she is the mother of the Buddhism in this country by serving Guru Rinpoche when Guru Rinpoche was propagating Dharma in this country. And when I see the tiger's footprints around my hermitage above the monastery, for me that is the blessing. That is a blessing. And I feel the connection between the monastery and Monmatashi Kyuden, since she is the one who transformed into the tigress when Guru Rinpoche was manifested to Dorje Drolo. And the fact that I see the tigers around the monastery and hermitage is a sign that Tashi Kyuden's blessing is still present with us today, even after thousands of years, basically. So, so I would say that it was a very special to see the tigers roaming very freely, around this place, and kind of like I deeply feel that she must be present as a form of tiger even today, in around us to bless us. That's yeah.
That's wonderful. So, with surely blessed to feel the presence of such noble Dakini around in our presence. So we when we talk about the pandemic or any other major upheavals in society, we often hear about disease, famine, and turmoil happening together, right? For example, I mean, we say Neyam, Muge, and Trupsu, all these three different things happening together. And we have the pandemic right now with that associated job loss and economic hardship for many people, and then, which is kind of like famine. And then added to this, we have political turmoil, as happened not so long ago here in the US, is happening right now in Burma, in Russia, so a lot of these things, negative, challenging events happening all at once. Can you please suggest how we can, we as individuals, as communities, as countries, how can we overcome, some of these obstacles?
Let me share some points, some Buddhist point of view. As a Basubandhu, one of the scholar from Nalanda University, said that everything happens is a product of a karma, and the karma is also dependent on your mind. So I think in the world, we have this very strongest weapon, that is your mind, basically. And when you, when your mind is projected through your emotions, negative emotions, then everything goes wrong. Everything begins after this. And when your mind is projected through kind of positive emotions, or we can say wisdoms or compassions, then you see things positively. So I would like to say, everything is dependent on your mind, basically. And then it's very important to talk about how to take it positively. How do you motivate during these things? Eventually, it's very important to take it as an opportunity during this kind of times. I would say, as an opportunity to connect through your uncontrived nature of your mind. Normally, the true nature of your mind is actually is very pure, right? And but then when you talk about these problems, then eventually, because this problem has just happened, I'm sure that many people is going through a hard time. But then, what can you do something with these problems? What can you learn something from this problem? I think it's very important. And I give this example to in many times in many of my kind of like teachings, and when I share some points, I really feel that it's like a lotus. Opportunity is like a lotus, and if the lotus has to grow, then it has to grow from a mud that is a very stinky, basically, and it can't be grown from any kind of golden places, basically. So I think we need to use these problems as a product to grow something else from this, basically. So, so when I talk about these things, I'm really trying to talk something that to talk. I'm really trying to talk about how do you seek happiness, basically. How do you connect yourself to your true nature of your mind? Okay, so normally we are actually very much used to of looking for happiness outside than ourselves, basically. That's a normal, as a normal human being, that's what we normally do. And often we forget to look inward. It's like a, how to say, a beggar having a, you know, a box of gold beneath the house, and the beggar does not know and begs whole life outside. It's the same thing. And it's very important to excavate this true joy within yourself. I think we have to take it as an opportunity during this pandemic, basically. So you know, like normally when I think this is what the problem starts from. We are projecting everything out of the out of our emotions at this when you see the problems. Uh, like normally our mind is like a blue sky, but then when we wear a black tinted glass and look through the sky, you see the sky as a black rather than seeing as a blue. And when you see look at the sky by wearing orange tinted glass, then you see it as an orange, but it does not mean the true nature of the sky has changed. But normally then you're just seeing it through your glass. So what you need to do is you need to this filter, I mean, like remove this filter of the glass so that you can see the nature of the sky. It's the same thing. So when you are, of course, you know, because when we are having this, I mean, big challenge at this moment of time that we're going through this, how to say, economic hardship and political turmoil, and then social distancing and not getting to meet people that you love to meet, and you're not able to visit your grandparents as normal. You're not able to have weddings with hundreds of people. You're not able to have a kind of your, I mean, like birthday celebration as normal. So I'm sure the people are stressed because of that. And when you're stressed, you produce anger within yourself. And when when you're seeing, looking through your anger, so it's like, you know, you're wearing a glass of maybe black tinted, and then you see everything black. It's very important to reflect on yourself, and it's very important to look into yourself and excavate that true nature of your mind, so that you can have a joy, you can have a true joy, a true happiness that can excavate, that can produce in within yourself, that is in within yourself, basically. So I think it's very important to how to say, connect to your towards your true nature of your mind, which we can say uncontrived nature of your mind or intrinsic nature of your mind. So the happiness and the peacefulness and something else is within yourself. So take it as an opportunity, I would say. Take it as an opportunity to connect yourself to your nature.
Les, thank you, Les. So, along those lines of really looking into your mind and looking inside for happiness and all of that, I think many people, you know, also talk about the opportunity that this pandemic has taught us about our minds, about ourselves, about our planet. You know, at all different levels. You know, there are the challenges, but also I think many people are increasingly also looking at the opportunities for us to rethink about how we live and how we, you know, conduct business and so forth. I'm sure our guests would love to hear more about Rinpoche's perspectives on this, you know, how the pandemic presents opportunities also.
Yes, as we were talking about the product of karma earlier and the mind a little bit, I think it's very important to talk about two important things here. When you talk about the mind, when you talk about ourselves, we are talking about a planet, I think the first most important is to have a proper intention, you know, proper intention. And it's very important first, even if, in order to bring kind of benefits on self. in order to reflect yourself on your mind, it's very important to have intention. You should have a proper intention, so that you have a proper goal or view to walk through that, right? So eventually, when the problem comes, I think many people, say in the past centuries, if you go through the histories, people had tremendous of hardships to achieve something else in their life. So we have to get inspired with these things also sometimes, and maybe who knows that we are living in this normalcy, right? I mean, having a meetings on Zoom rather than meeting in reality. I mean, you are celebrating some birthdays on Zoom, and then you're connecting people through the social medias. This kind of things is as a new normalcy. And then if you reflect, before pandemic, there was a different normalcy. And who knows, after this, maybe this pandemic might not be the last. We might have even a worse. So that would be again another normalcy. So I think it's very important to create the proper intentions. What can we do? What can we learn from these things? And after having a normalcy, I mean, like intention, it is very important to put in action, basically. And many times your intention, your action is divorced. And when your intention and when your action becomes separate, then the things does not perform in the positive way that satisfied you. So I think it's very important to first have a proper intention. After that, it is very important to act upon your intention, so that it can reflect through your mind. It can reflect on yourself, so that it can evolve within yourself. And after that, even when you talk about the planet, it's upon on you. You have to have an intention. Oh, you have to worry first. If the global warming is keep going on like this, then the glaciers that has from 1,000 years will melt down. You should have an intention like that. Then only after having intention, then you will have some ideas how to act upon it, isn't it? Without having intention, you can't act upon it. Then you will begin to talk about how to go green, right? How to use less plastics, how to reuse this plastic rather than just paying a money to buy a new plastics. It can't work if you just keep buying plastics, even if you have an intention about just global warming. It can't work. And if you have to bring some changes to the planet, it's very important to first change yourself by having proper intentions and by acting on it, by putting an action on it. Then you can inspire your families. Then you can inspire your neighbors. Then you can inspire your cities. Then you can inspire your states and countries. And then that's how you change the world, basically. Without changing yourself, do not expect anyone to change. That can never happen, basically. So I think it's very important. Your intention matters, by the way, I would say. I would like to share some stories about Buddha's time, when Buddha was, before he enlightened. He was born as, one of the servant of the, how to say, boat driver, what to say, pilot? Is it a pilot? I don't know. What is the proper name for that?
Boatman.
A boatman, yes. And in this boat, there was 500 merchant who was shifting their goods from one shore to another shore. And there was 500 merchants, by the way. Of course, the boat was very rich with golds and silvers and how to say, pearls and turquoise and so many things. So the boatman thought, actually have planned to kill these 500 merchants to get those golds and all goods, actually. And his assistant was wondering then, what about this? He was trying to figure out how to help this man, by the way. And if he kill these 500 people, he's going to, have a big sin by just killing 500 people. And that is, of course, this is something to account on him. And he was saying like, how can I help this man? And his intention is now he is beginning to motivate himself to just help this person. And then immediately he thought that way, okay, instead of killing 500 people, may I kill this one man to liberate 500 people? Eventually the action was killing, but then his intention was good, just to save him first from creating creating 500 sins by killing 500 people. And second intention was to save 500 people from this one bad man. So he killed like that. So eventually it is something to, act. The action was bad by killing, right? But then his intention was good. He saved 500 people. He saved these men from 500 sins, though he took the sins of killing one person. So I think even this kind of thing, I'm just talking, just I was sharing about the one stories about Buddha's time. But then what I'm trying to say here is you should have a proper intention first, just to not benefit yourself, but to benefit the universe. Second most important is to act on open on your intention, so that you can bring some changes. Yeah.
That's, thank you, Len. So that was very insightful, matching your intentions with actions. So Rinpoche, for some people, the pandemic was an excellent opportunity to spend, this amount of time, this much time with their families or their loved ones. But for others, you also hear about incidences where you are stuck with people who could be abusive or not so fun to be with. We hear reports of domestic violence, abuses leading to a lot of stress, affecting mental health and stability. So, would you mind sharing some thoughts on how to deal, with situations like that?
Well, I think the first most important is to call for help. So it's very important, I'm sure that it is very important to call for open help from anybody who has the concerned authorities. You have to first get out from this problem, who is very abusive and who is very violent. It's very important. And beyond than that, I think it's very important to talk about two important points here. One is, I think you should know those, especially those who have mental stressful problems during this lockdown, or let's say global pandemic, that you have to just be alone without having any interactions with your friends and families as normally you do. um, First important for those, I think it's very important to think and understand impermanence. Impermanence is kind of like constant change. Whatever that had happened in earlier in the past has changed, and because of that, today we have this global pandemic. If you think about the, maybe let's say, the late year of 2019, where global pandemic was just beginning in some part of China. I'm sure in part of United States, I don't care it. There was something that is beyond and what is happening today. It's beyond in your mind. It's you know, and then, but the things has changed. It has broken through entire world. People has now, there is a travel ban, and you're not allowed to meet your people and my friends. You have to wear masks. You have to sanitize. Things has changed right there. It's everything is impermanent. Impermanent does not mean just everything has to die. Impermanent is change. So the things what's happening today will change tomorrow. You know, and whatever that is you're going through, if you understand that, if you hope for change, this hope will create so many ideas in your mind to survive through these problems. you know so first most important is don't take it too serious, because if you take too serious, the problem just starts right after this, taking it too seriously. Second most important is those who are kind of really struggling around you. by, I mean, like very abusive, violence. Just have a compassion for those people. Just have a compassion for those people, because I'm sure they're not just doing it uh, by their own choice, basically. They are also victim of their own emotions. We normally fight for the freedom. We fight for the freedom of the world, freedom from someone's power. We fight for, hey, this has to be this has to be gone right, this has to be gone wrong, whatever. We fight for justifications and so on. So normally, as a human being, we forget to fight for our own freedom from our emotions. So I think that's the biggest victim, by the way. And then whatever that is, unpleasant things happening, they're just to I mean, acting often because of their anger, because of their hatred, greed, and so on. So normally they are victim of those anger, there's a greed and something. So they have no freedoms, by the way. Even they wanted to be kind, their greed won't let them. Even they wanted to be patient, the anger won't let them. So they're kind of a person that who normally have lose their kind of, how to say, their freedom. So have compassion for those, and that will also change. That is also impermanence, you know. So I think it's very important to understand two important values here. Remember, things will change because it is impermanent. Do not forget to be compassionate with this person, because if you have a compassion in your heart for this certain person, you will have a way open up. Compassion does not mean just always being calm. Compassion has a millions of way. For example, when if you're a good parent, I mean, you all must be have a kids. I mean, we all have been a kid, and we have our parents. And when we have a compassionate parent, they always find a ways, and they create the millions of methods and skills to get you away from problems, right? Normally, some half of the problems, if you were when you were a kid, you created by yourself, and then that becomes habit. And your parents have a millions of ways. Sometimes they're angry with you, sometimes they punish you. It does not mean that they don't like you, they don't love you. Because of out of their love and compassion towards you, they punish you, because that hoping that you'll get away from these things, these problems, or this bad habit, isn't it? So I think it's the same thing. If you have a compassion, you will create a way, you will find a way to cure that person, or kind of helping this person get out from this problems of, how to say, negative emotions. So I think first is to call for help. Second most important is to remember that things will change because it's impermanent. Third most important is have a little compassion for those who are abusive. Of course, it's not easy, by the way, but it might help you to understand.
Yeah.
And I think the fourth point is that if you're counting on this person, maybe, I don't know, maybe male or female, if it is just within, like, just between, I mean, relationship, for example, or maybe a um, co-worker, anybody else you are stuck with, and that turns out to be a, a bad person with a bad temper, or very abusive violence. I think this is a best opportunity for you to know that person's true color. If you're counting your life upon this person, then maybe you're counting on the wrong person. So now you will have a new ideas to move out of this after this pandemic. So stay positive. It's very important.
Plus, thank you, La. So moving along, La Rinpoche. So for a country like Bhutan, we are lucky that we have done extremely well in responding to the pandemic, and it all stems from from how our leadership in government, with the prime minister, the health minister, and foreign minister, all belonging to the medical profession, and of course led by a compassionate and selfless monarch, His Majesty the King, the royal family, and then supported by thousands of frontline workers and volunteers who all came together to implement a very effective united strategy. And in addition, the spiritual section of our society, all the monks and nuns, the lamas, the many rinpoches, they've all also been constantly sharing their burden of saying the prayers, making offerings, and catering to people's spiritual needs. So far, we have just under 900 COVID, or we have had under 900 COVID cases, 866, I think, to be precise, but mostly recovered. It is impressive how everybody came together. So, what, in your opinion, Rinpoche, are some factors to consider in a time like this, especially the need to all come together and to be united?
I think the first most important I would like to say here is that Bhutan is blessed with the greatest leader, basically, I would say, the compassionate king, selfless, very selfless, who actually is on duty to serve his people and nation day and night, sleepless. So very fortunate as a Bhutanese that we feel very proud and very blessed to have a great leader and open his compassionate command. I think the government is doing very well. At the same time, the prime ministers, and so many. I think a few ministers are also doctors. And other than that, then there are the kind of frontline volunteers and workers actually who is, again, they're in the duty for selflessly. They're always there, and who to fight for the virus. And the most important here is to staying united. If you do not stay united, the things won't work. I think the things will just break through. And I think the Bhutan at this moment of time is all united, and we follow the guidelines of the health and how to say, like, his Majesty is constantly guiding, and when you stay united, then I think that there is so many efforts. You produce so many good energies to fight against something else. So even during this pandemic, I think that this is what happened in Bhutan, and it has actually all, like, it has to count every people. If somebody else just break through the COVID rules and regulations, and you should just walk away from your place and go and meet somebody else who have this COVID and come back to the community again, then I think there is a high chance that it will break through. And then I think, as many of you might know, I think majority numbers of the COVID cases here in the country has been all kind of people that who have traveled from outside countries, I think. And so I think it's very important to stay united, And then second most important is that staying positive is very important. Again, on the other hand, if you become the victim of yourself, maybe, like, let's say, if you're one of the victim of the COVID, let's say, like, first most important is you need to have intentions. You have to be positive to just fight against this virus. So that, if you stay positive, I think your body, because of your effort, because of your intentions, I think your body will have some energies to fight against the virus. And second most important is to just follow the steps of the guidelines of the medical guidelines of whatever the doctor says, whatever the health workers, gives you the guidelines. Just simply follow that step. Sanitize yourself, wear masks, social distancing. I think this kind of things are very important at this moment of time. I think Bhutan is blessed with these three important things here. I think we have a wonderful leader. Second most important is that Bhutanese people are all united. I think Bhutanese people are positive. That, I think that's why that, even though we have few numbers of cases here in the country, we have, I think, I could say that there is eventually just I think, one case of death, right? One case of death. That also who had already, who was, I mean, suffering through diabetics and so many other problems. So I think that's the condition.
Lasla, thank you very much. And moving along, I know we have a very packed agenda tonight. At the end of the session, Rinpoche will definitely, of course, lead all of you, all of us, through a short meditation session. But before that, I think as we walk through a couple of other questions, we are beginning to get several questions from our audience, and I thought, maybe we can just intersperse them because they are kind of relevant. One of the questions, Rinpoche, is well, actually two questions regarding meditation. So one question is that in meditation, it is taught that thoughts should be seen as just thoughts, especially bad ones. So how does one identify or distinguish which thoughts are their own and reflect how they actually feel?
Okay, I don't know how I could able to give the how to say right answer for this, but I think no matter what, when you're meditating, I think whether that's a good thought or bad thought, it just has to be a thought. You're supposed to watch each and everything. You're supposed to aware of any kind of thoughts that arise within yourself. I think that's because when you meditate mindfulness, you're supposed to be mindful on just the state of your mind rather than just being carried away by thoughts. Whether that's a thought that is generated through your memories of your past does not matter. You should not just carry away. You should not get carried away by the past memories, or even if it is a future plans. You should not let your mind carried away by the plans. You're just supposed to be at the state of the present moment and simply be aware, whatever the thoughts arise within yourself. Just let it come, just let it go. Do not let your mind follow any kind of these thoughts, whether that's bad thoughts or good thoughts. Meditation actually means, the actual purpose of meditation is to, discover the intrinsic awareness of your mind, basically. Intrinsic awareness, the uncontrived nature of our mind, which is very important. And it is very important to stay on the state of the very present moment, very present moment that is not carried away by any thoughts, neither plans. So just simply being aware of everything else. That's, I think, when you talk about the mindfulness meditation, this is all about what you are supposed to do. And when you practice mindfulness meditations, then that's what, there are so many tools used during the mindfulness meditation. For example, like, focusing on the breath, and you're supposed to focus on your bodies and your sensations and your kind of, how to say, your thoughts, and there are so many tools and techniques that are used in order to, how to say, develop or generate your mindfulness power bigger, so but the actual purpose of mindfulness is to just simply stay on the present moment awareness, so that whatever the thoughts that comes and goes do not carry away by any kind of thoughts. So I think it's very important.
Lasla, then I guess moving along the same vein, there's another question from Dustin D. Perna. It says, Rinpoche, wonderful to see you. If people are feeling anxiety and stress right now in their life, is there any type of practice or meditation they can do that you think might help?
Thank you, Justin, my friend. And I think this is also, I think this is a very important question. And then indeed, yes, I would say the most important, to remember during this kind of time, especially when you have anxiety and when you're having this mental suffering, basically, it's very important to just simply stay calm first. First, most important, just try to stay calm as much as possible. Not just be your body, but main thing is your mind, as I was trying to say something about your karma earlier. Karma does not mean that it comes come from sky and give something on you. It is not. It is just within yourself. Whatever that your intent to, whatever your intention is, that slowly will kind of become an action. And whatever that action, that's how you actually feel open in it, isn't it? It's very important. And the most important here is that your mind should be tamed. Unless your mind is fully tamed, I think you, no matter like how much your body is in the posture of meditation, it will not work. The first most important is calm your mind. Let your mind relax from all those kind of anxieties and problems. Try as much as possible to just stay calm and give the rest to your mind. You know, anxiety does mean that when your mind is too busy thinking about the problem, exaggerating about the problem, that's where the anxiety things comes after, isn't it? And it's very important to think from different directions now. Okay, how can I calm your mind? Is that now, like, for example, when we were just talking about breathing meditation earlier, just focus on the breath, you know, like when you just breathe in, simply focus on breath in. So it can give your mind a less job, right? It has now only one job, simply focus on breath, right? So likewise, you know, you can focus on something else, any other objects. And likewise, then the most important is to not let your mind kind of think about the problem, even that kind of problems for a few moments of time. Let's say, give some rest to your mind to think about that problems. So just simply come back to yourself, focus on yourself, unite your body and mind together, and then do something else. Just live in the present moment without getting any distractions. So at least do few minutes of meditation if you're going through this kind of tough time, so that this meditation will definitely help you to actually help you come out from this anxiety and problems.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Of course, we have so many questions and so many, so much demand on Rinpoche's time. I guess we will move on to the last question before then I hand over to Rinpoche to lead the short meditation session. So the last question for tonight is, many people struggle with regret or regrets in their lives. Some regret that they did not do something in their past that they should have. Or perhaps they regret a bad habit or a bad action, or not choosing to visit a family member who then suddenly passes away. What are your suggestions for living with regret? How do you suggest individuals free themselves from the burden of regret? So this will be the last question, Rinpoche, and then, after Rinpoche finishes, I will pass on the floor to Rinpoche to lead the meditation session.
I think whatever that has happened in the past, you have no power to change that situation. And I would like to say that it is very important to take it as a lessons. You know, whatever that you have done, whatever that you regret about, I think you have so many things to do in the future. So what you do is do not just you do not let yourself suffer by just simply regretting on what you haven't done in the past, but you have to think instead what you can do now and in future, because you haven't done in the past. So I think it's very much important is that you should take it as a lessons to do something for future and the present moment. You have the very powerful thing that you could do or you could change is that you could use the times what you have right now. If you just begin to act, if you just begin to do something else positively right now, I think this is what you can make your future without regret again. And we have this saying in how to say Bhutanese word, some like it says, so if you think earlier, if you have a proper intentions earlier, then that's a smart way or excellent way. Rather than that, if you regret after doing something else, that's a stupid, by the way. So, but then I'm not just saying it. I'm not pointing out anybody as a stupid, but whatever that is something that you have done or you haven't done and you regret about, that's the best lesson. And do not just simply let it be as a memory of regretness. Take it as a lesson so that you could build better future. You could do something as better for your future and your present moment. I think it's very important. So do not let your regret as a regret, but use it as a lessons to move forward to productively.
Las, thank you very much, Rinpoche. I think we have answered, how much ever number of questions we can get to tonight. In the interest of time, I would now like to hand over the floor to Rinpoche to lead a short meditation session.
Lasla, thank you, Sam. And then I think I would like to just summarize whatever that I have said earlier today about today's sessions. So I think the most important during this pandemic time is to remember impermanence and please be compassionate to each other, and then have a hope, things will change and very soon we will come to the normal. So with these things, I think we will do a very short period of meditation. It will be not so for long period, let's say 5 minutes. So everyone get to your meditation posture. If you're kind of on the bench, just sit properly, straight your back. And if you're on a chair, just simply, sit properly and straight your back. And if you would like to close your eyes, then you can close your eyes and make an aspirations. Making aspirations is very important. So make an aspirations that may I meditate to heal the world from this global pandemic and liberate everyone from the suffering. So I'm not just going to lead you through the entire meditation by shifting your focus on different things. Just do one thing, is simply relax your mind and the present moment, just on the state of the present moment. Do not let your mind get disturbed by the past memories. Do not let your mind dragged by the future plans. Whatever that thoughts comes in, simply watch that thoughts. Do not let your mind carry it away. Simply be aware of each and every thought that comes in. Stay relaxed. Stay at the present moment state. Just simply be aware, that's it. Okay. Slowly open your eyes, and you can stretch your body if you want, and you can come out from this meditation. So that's it. So you can do this often. And thank you, Tom, for this opportunity, and thank you everyone for joining the session. It was really wonderful.
Les, thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you for the generosity of your time, and I hope everyone has enjoyed tonight's session. We have. I just wanted to share just two last things with you. So this here is where Rinpoche's beautiful monastery is located. Rinpoche is in the middle of so many interesting projects. I think he has a grand vision for a Buddhist academy. He's also renovating and reviving some of these ancient monasteries, helping with a lot of monks and with the youth in the vicinity of where his monasteries are, in a few places across Bhutan. And if anybody is interested to learn more about Rinpoche's work, or if you want to get in touch with Rinpoche, here are the contacts. You can either get in touch with the Khedrup Foundation through their website, or you can also get in touch with us at the Bhutan Foundation. We partner with the Khedrup Foundation in a couple of their projects. So again, thank you all very much for joining, and I hope you enjoyed this session, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next event. Thank you. Stay safe. Thank you, Rinpoche. Thank you, everyone.